In this module, we shall discuss complete convergence and enumerate the relationship between almost sure convergence and complete convergence. Next, we pass on to strong law of large numbers. We shall discuss some different types of strong law of large numbers and give some examples. Lastly, we shall discuss central limit theorems and give different variations of central limit theorems, namely for IIT random variables, for independent random variables, and give a variety of conditions under which CLT holds. Finally, we shall discuss uniform convergence in central limit theorems. So, in particular, we shall discuss Berry and bounds on the fact on uniform convergence and give one particular example concerning binomial distribution. We start with the idea of complete convergence. Consider the random variables xn and x defined on a common sample space. Then xn is said to converge completely to x if the series with terms probability dxn x greater than epsilon is finite for every epsilon greater than 0, where dxn x is nothing but the distance between xn and x, that is absolute value of xn minus x. In notation, we have used P to indicate convergence in probability, we have used D to indicate convergence in distribution, and we have used A dot S to indicate almost sure convergence. But in this case, we use only the letter C to indicate complete convergence. Actually, complete convergence and almost sure convergence are very closely related. In fact, if xn minus x converges completely to 0, then xn minus x also converges to 0 almost surely. However, the converse may not hold. However, from the properties of convergence series, if one can show that probability that distance between xn and x exceeding epsilon is big O of n to the power 1 plus r for some r greater than 0, then complete convergence and hence almost sure convergence holds. Next, we shall discuss strong law of large numbers. Actually, we have discussed weak law of large numbers concerning the average of random variables. In this section, we shall discuss convergence of average of random variables, but the mode of convergence is almost surely. So, we start with Borel strong law of large number. If xn are IID Bernoulli theta random variables, then Sn by n, that is the average of x1 x2 up to xn, converges almost surely to theta. For a proof of this result, note that Sn has a binomial n theta distribution, and using the properties of binomial distribution, one can find that the variance of Sn by n is nothing but theta multiplied by 1 minus theta whole thing divided by small n. Then by Markov's inequality, we at once have probability that absolute value of Sn by n minus theta exceeds epsilon is less than equal to expected value of Sn by n minus theta whole square divided by epsilon square. Since theta into 1 minus theta for theta belonging to 0 1 open interval is less than equal to 1 by 4, we get expected value of Sn by n minus theta whole square less than equal to 1 by 4, and hence we get that probability that absolute value of Sn by n minus theta greater than epsilon is less than equal to 1 by 4 epsilon square, and hence nothing can be concluded, because we get that this quantity is less than equal to 1 by 4 n epsilon square. So, the order is not as given in the previous result. However, if we consider the fourth order central moment, that is expected value of Sn by n minus theta whole to the power 4, then after a little bit calculation we find it as theta into 1 minus theta multiplied by 1 plus 3 theta multiplied by 1 minus theta multiplied by n minus 2 whole thing divided by n cube. Since as earlier theta into 1 minus theta less than equal to 1 by 4 for 0 less than theta less than 1, we get 1 plus 3 theta multiplied by 1 minus theta multiplied by n minus 2 is less than or equal to 3n minus 2 whole thing divided by 4, which is again less than 3n by 4, and hence we get expected value of Sn by n minus theta whole to the power 4, that is fourth order central moment, is less than or equal to 3 by 16 n square. That is expected value of Sn by n minus theta whole to the power 4 is of big O n square. Thus probability that absolute value of Sn by n minus theta greater than epsilon is less than or equal to 3 by 16 n square for every epsilon greater than 0. Thus the series with nth term as the probability that distance between xn and x exceeds epsilon converges, and hence Borel strong law of large number follows. Next we discuss some other types of strong law of large numbers, because in Borel's strong law of large number we have discussed only convergence of random variables which are independent and identical as Bernoulli with mean parameter theta, but there can be other types of random variables and there can be other types of distributions. So we start with Kolmogorov's strong law of large number. Let xn be independent random variables with finite variances. Then Sn by n minus expected value of Sn divided by n converges almost surely to 0, provided the series with the nth term variance of xn whole thing divided by n square is finite. Next we shall discuss strong law of large number for bounded random variables. It is very obvious from Kolmogorov's strong law of large number, if xn are uniformly bounded random variables, then the variance of such random variables is also bounded. So the series with nth term variance of xn by n square is less than or equal to that some constant divided by n square. So by comparison test we can say that in that case summation n from 1 to infinity variance of xn divided by n square is also finite, and hence we get Sn by n converging to expected value of x1 almost surely. Next we shall discuss Khinchin strong law of large number. Let xn be IID random variables with finite expectation. Then Sn by n converges almost surely to expected value of x1. Actually this strong law of large number is just extension of Khinchin's weak law of large number, considering only the existence of first moment. Next we discuss an extension of Khinchin strong law of large number. Let xn be IID q component random variables, that is xn are vector valued random variables with finite expectation which is also a vector theta. If g is continuous and real valued at theta, then gxn bar converges almost surely to g theta. So let us discuss an application. Let xn be IID random variables with finite variance sigma square and expectation mu. Consider S square, which is defined as 1 by n summation I from 1 to n xi minus x bar square. Now S square can be written as 1 by n summation I from 1 to n xi minus mu whole square minus 1 by n summation xi minus mu whole square. So we define a vector valued random variable z with components z1i and z2i, with z1i as xi minus mu whole square and z2i as xi minus mu. Then z bar, that is the mean vector of such random variables, converges almost surely to sigma square to a vector with components sigma square, first component as sigma square and second component as 0. This is because we get the expected value of x1 minus mu whole square is nothing but sigma square, and expected value of xi minus mu is nothing but 0. Since in this case gxy, if we can define it as x minus y square, is continuous, we have the desired result from Khinchin's extension of strong law of large number. Next we pass on to continuity theorem. Let xn be a sequence of random variables with Fn as the corresponding sequence of distribution functions. If Mnt is the corresponding sequence of moment generating functions, then the following questions are natural. Does Mnt converge to an MGF for large n? If Xn converges in distribution to X for some random variable X with MGF Mt, does Mnt converging to Mt? Continuity theorem provides the answers to the above. So let us discuss the theorem. Let Fn be a sequence of distribution functions with Mnt as a corresponding sequence of moment generating functions. If there exists a distribution function f corresponding to MGF m such that Mnt converges to Mt as n tends to infinity, then Fn converges weakly to f. So let us consider some application of continuity theorem. The first example gives a sequence of random variables xn, where xn is defined as xn takes only two values 1 and 2 with probabilities 1 by n square and 1 minus 1 by n square. Then the moment generating function for xn is defined as Mnt, which is by definition the expected value of e to the power t xn, which comes out as e to the power t by n square plus e to the power 2t multiplied by 1 minus 1 by n square, which converges to e to the power 2t as n tends to infinity. Clearly this limiting version of the moment generating function of xn is actually the moment generating function of a random variable having degeneracy at 2. Thus we get from the above, that is from the continuity theorem, that xn converges in distribution to x, where x is defined as a degenerate random variable having degeneracy at 2. Consider our next example. Suppose xn are IIT binomial 1p variables, then Sn equal to summation k from 1 to n xk has the MGF Mnt defined by 1 minus p plus p e to the power t whole to the power n. If we increase n in such a way that np equal to lambda is finite, then 1 minus p plus p e to the power t whole to the power n converges to e to the power lambda multiplied by e to the power t minus 1, which is the moment generating function of a Poisson random variable with mean lambda. Therefore, from the continuity theorem we get that Sn converges in distribution to a Poisson random variable with mean lambda. Next we pass on to central limit theorems. Actually weak law of large number and strong law of large number provide an idea about the limit of an average of random variables, but it does not provide the rate at which the limit is reached. Central limit theorems enable us to get an idea about the rate of convergence to the limiting quantity. Now we shall discuss convergence of Sn minus An whole to the whole thing divided by Bn to a non-degenerate random variable for suitable choices of centering and norming constants. We also investigate the properties of such a non-degenerate limit. Let us give a short genesis of central limit theorems. Actually central limit theorem, which is abbreviated by CLT, has an interesting evolution. The earliest form of CLT was postulated by Abraham de Moivre in 1733, who used the normal approximation to the distribution of the number of heads obtained through a large number of throws of an unbiased coin. However, the result of de Moivre was further referenced by Pierre Simon Laplace in his 1812 publication Theorie analytique des probabilités. Laplace extended the idea of de Moivre to approximate a binomial distribution by the normal distribution. However, the modern form of CLT is due to Alexander Lyapunov, who developed the general form together with proof. The particular term central limit theorem is due to George Polya because of its central role in probability theory. However, Lickham interpreted the word central because it describes the behavior of the center of the distribution as opposed to its tails. So, we start with De Moivre's theorem. Let Xn be IID sequence of binomial 1 mu random variables, then as n tends to infinity, Xn bar converges in probability to mu and root over n multiplied by Xn bar minus mu converges in distribution to normal with mean 0 and variance mu multiplied by 1 minus mu. For a proof, one can expand the concerned moment generating function of square root of n Xn bar minus mu in a Taylor series and take the limit to get the MGF of the normal variable as the limit. And the result then is immediate as a consequence of continuity theorem. Actually, this is a primitive version of CLT of De Moivre, which gives the asymptotic distribution only for a sequence of IID Bernoulli variables. Next, we pass on to classical CLT, that is Lindeberg-Levy CLT. Let Xn be IID sequence of random variables with mean mu and variance sigma square, then as n tends to infinity, square root of n multiplied by Xn bar minus mu converges in distribution to normal variable with mean 0 and variance sigma square. In fact, in our last CLT, that is in De Moivre's theorem, we have considered only sequence of IID Bernoulli random variables, but Lindeberg-Levy CLT extends the idea of De Moivre for a general class of random variables with finite mean mu and finite variance sigma square. So, what we get from Lindeberg-Levy CLT? We get that the limiting distribution of a normalized average is normal provided the observations are IID with finite variance. Thus, the limiting distribution is independent of the parent population and hence enables to develop asymptotic procedures for a large class of parents only with finite variance assumption. Next, we come to our next type of CLT, which is known as Lyapunov's CLT. Actually, Lindeberg-Levy CLT considers the sum of IID random variables with finite variance, but random variables may be independent but not distributed identically. In such a case, we have Lyapunov CLT, which assumes existence of moments higher than order 2. So, formally, if Xn are IID, if Xn are independent sequence of random variables with mean mu n for Xn and variance sigma square n for Xn, if for some delta greater than 0, the Lyapunov condition, that is summation k from 1 to n expected value of absolute value of xk minus mu k whole to the power 2 plus delta whole thing divided by summation k from 1 to n sigma k square whole to the power 2 plus delta tends to 0 as n tends to infinity is satisfied, then the random variable summation k from 1 to n xk minus mu k whole thing divided by Sn converges in distribution to normal 0 1, where Sn square is nothing but summation k from 1 to n sigma k square, that is variance of summation k from 1 to n xk. Next, we consider a Lindeberg condition and the corresponding CLT. Lindeberg's condition is an alternative to Lyapunov's condition for satisfying CLT. If Lyapunov condition is satisfied, then Lindeberg condition is also satisfied, but the converse is not always true. So, we come to Lindeberg CLT. Let Xn be independent sequence of random variables with mean mu n for Xn and variance sigma square n for Xn. If for every epsilon greater than 0, the Lindeberg condition given in the slide is satisfied, then the random variable summation k from 1 to n xk minus mu k whole thing divided by Sn converges in distribution to normal 0 1, where Sn is as earlier defined as variance of summation k from 1 to n xk. Next, we discuss speed of convergence. CLT provides the limiting distribution, but not the choice of n and accuracy of approximation. However, choice of an n ensuring limit distribution to be normal depends on the underlying distribution. Suppose GNX is the CDF of square root of n multiplied by xn bar minus mu by sigma, and capital phi x is the distribution function of standard normal variable. Then CLT states that GNX converges to phi x for all x, but the convergence is not uniform, so that for fixed n the approximation may perform poorly. The following result gives a bound on the margin of error, that is absolute value of GNX minus phi x, and shows that the convergence is uniform for the class of distributions with finite third order absolute moments. So we have variation bound. If xn be IID sequence of random variables with mean mu, variance sigma square, and finite absolute third order moment rho, which is defined as expected value of absolute value of x1 minus mu whole to the power 3, then for all n the absolute value of GNX minus phi x is less than C rho divided by sigma cube multiplied by square root of n for all x, which can be equivalently stated as absolute supremum of absolute value of GNX minus phi x less than C rho multiplied by sigma cube C rho divided by sigma cube into square root of n, where the constant C belongs to the open interval containing 0.4097 and 0.7975 as the endpoints, and depends only on the underlying distribution but is independent of n. So Bayesian theorem gives a sufficient condition for CLT even for non-identical class of distributions. Thus we get our next CLT. Let us consider a sufficient condition for CLT. Suppose xn be independent sequence of random variables and xn having a distribution fn with expected value some mu n and variance sigma square n, such that the quantity expected value of x1 minus mu n whole to the power 3, actually the expectation is taken over fn, and we are considering absolute third order moment of x1 divided by sigma n cube is small o of square root of n, then GNX converges to phi x as n tends to infinity. So we get some sufficient condition for CLT. So let us discuss an application. Let xn be an independent sequence of Bernoulli random variables with success probability Pn, then Fn in this case is Bernoulli Pn, and since x1 is bounded by 0 and 1 and Pn is also bounded by 0 and 1, so the absolute value of x1 minus Pn is also bounded by unity, and therefore the corresponding absolute third order moment is also bounded by unity for every n. Thus the CLT holds as long as Pn into 1 minus Pn converges to a non-zero quantity. However, the third order absolute moment divided by sigma n cube comes out as Pn square plus 1 minus Pn whole square, whole thing divided by square root of Pn into 1 minus Pn, and hence if nPn whole to the power minus half tends to 0 as n tends to infinity, the limiting distribution approaches normal. We have just discussed strong law of large numbers, complete convergence, and central limit theorems together with uniform convergence in CLT. In our next module, we shall discuss combination of convergence in probability and convergence in distribution, that is Slutsky theorems. We shall also discuss applications of Slutsky theorems, and finally we shall give a result on finding the large sample distribution of a function of a sequence of random variables and enumerate their applications in large sample testing of the concerned parameter.